I'm here. I'm just also working. So I'm here, but I'm gonna not be a participant as much as I normally do.
Okay, that's fine.
Sweet.
Um, so since I missed last week, I don't mind facilitating. Um, so this week we kind of have a busy week. Let me see, I got to go back and sign in. Where was that? Social psychology. And week 11. Yay, we are in week 11. Woo
Let's
woo.
go.
I know. Um, So this one's about helping. And this week we have a practice quiz, a chapter quiz, our meeting, attendance summary, written responses, and research evaluation. So with our
Oh,
research evaluation, it says that we can do anything from concepts from chapters 9 to 12. So I'll probably do something from last week because that's kind of my area of interest. Um, And I think those like I do good on research essays, so I'm pretty good with that. How about you?
I usually do good on those.
Okay. So have you had a chance to look over this week's information?
I've read through part of the chapter, got a few of my questions done.
Okay.
This week.
I
I'm
was
trying to
not
get all
feeling
of my stuff done.
it's hard. Mondays are hard. I'm like, Mondays are usually my down days that I think I told you about. It's just been for years that way since I used to work Tuesday through Saturdays. So, and then Sundays are never like a down day with church and everything. So,
No.
Mondays are my Saturdays. And this week, I have not been feeling very good. Last week, I think I was sick for 3 days, probably one of the reasons I missed last week. And then this morning, I slept till 12 o'clock. And I'm like, crap, I need to wake up and get my daughter on the bus. So, um, I'm just sitting down to kind of look at the information. I did pull up all the questions, but it seems pretty normal. I mean, it's like, why do we help? I was looking at the questions, and we have compare and contrast the three theories of helping, which is social exchange, social normals, and the evolutionary theory. Explain what the positive and negative effects of empathy-based altruism are. Identify the steps in Darley and Lantane's decision tree of helping based on the model. Review the research of the role of numbers of bystanders in helping. Be sure to include a discussion noticing, interpreting, and assuming responsibility. Summarize Darley and Baston's classic study on the parable of the Good Samaritan. Explain what the research on the role of religious faith in helping concludes. In addition to reducing the ambiguity of the situation and increasing personal responsibilities, briefly explain at least two other ways to increase helping behavior. Eight is explain the role of kin selection in influencing helping behavior. Nine, explain what genuine altruism is and compare and contrast Batson and Seleni's research on genuine altruism. So it sounds like a lot of research this chapter and why do people do what they do.
Mhm.
Um, Looking at this week's introduction, um, it just talks about charity and helping others and learning objectives of explain the psychology's theory of what motivates helping, explain how and why helping is influenced by the number and behaviors of bystanders, by mood states and traits and values. Identify some traits and values that predict helping, and identify some ways we can increase helping. So, um, what are your thoughts on helping?
Well, in the reading, it was interesting because we talked about like selfish reasons for helping, how like
Mhm.
there's like a bit of self-interest in a lot of it. Like, I don't know, you help someone with the expectation that they will help you later because of it, or you do it for the social norms because you're kind of expected to help, so you should do it, so you do. And then there's like the evolutionary theory, which is like we help others specifically like in our family to like preserve genes and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know, those are the kind of reasons it talked about earlier in the chapter.
Mm-hmm. So I think like for me personally, service is my love language. So helping and serving others comes really like easily to me, especially like within the religious knowledge. And that's one thing that it talks about. How does religion influence our helping mentality? And that I understand, and I've tried to teach my children that when you're in the service of your fellow beings, you're in the service of your God. And so the only way that we can truly serve our Heavenly Father and show him that we love him as well as Christ is through service. Um, what is the one that's when you do it unto the least of these, my brethren, you do it unto me. So for me, I have that very that gospel principle orientated reason on why we serve others. It's part of our responsibility, it's part of our duty, it's part of our baptismal covenant. But like I said, because service is my love language, that comes easier to me. So I can see why there's an interest in studying why people help people and why people don't. Like the bystander effect, that was something I think we talked about
Mhm.
earlier in the chapters. Is I think it's really interesting. Like I've always found it really interesting that when somebody is like getting robbed or mugged, that there's just people standing around watching. It's like, why don't you get involved? Why aren't you doing anything?
Right.
Like, I can understand, like, maybe as a mother, if I have young children, that I'm like, hey, I don't want to put my kids in danger, but I have noticed, like, we were at, I watch people, and that's, I've always been a people watcher. So my husband being a nurse, there's been multiple times where I've seen somebody, um, like at church, there was a guy that fell down on his pew, and I'm like, hey, go and help that person, or, go, wherever we're at, hey, go help him because you're a nurse and you can do something about it. And so he does, but that's not typical according to the bystander effect, that somebody else thinks somebody's going to step in and help.
Mhm.
So, um,
It's a super interesting concept.
yeah. Um, I know for me, like whenever I see like homeless people, my heart always is like, I really wish that I could help them more in a way. And it's frustrating because you just never know when you're being deceived.
Mhm.
So, but I'm always like, I wish I can help you in what you need. But at the same time, as a woman and with children, I don't want to put myself in harm's way to do something like that. So that's where when I have my husband with us and there's a car broken down or something that we feel comfortable enough to stop or listening to the spirit on, if that's like our responsibility or our chance to be of service. So
Mhm. That's a hard
uh
one because like it can be sketchy because like some people do just pretend that their car is broken down in hopes that some
my
like
husband
lonely person comes by.
yeah, my husband actually, so he would drive when we lived in American Fork, he'd drive up to Salt Lake City to work. And I think it was really early one morning or really late at one night. But he saw a truck broken down, so he stopped. And this one guy, oh, did he come out of his car or did my husband come out of his car? I can't remember, but the guy's like, give me money, give me some water. And my husband just was like, the way that he came off, like expectant that my husband was like, give me your cell phone, give me this, give me whatever. And he's like, whoa, that was really scary. Like, I don't want to put myself in that situation again. He felt like really threatened. So it can be really scary. Um, and I think that kind of leads into like, why do we help in kind of the emotional? So it has in the writing, it says increasing positive emotion and reducing negative emotion.
Mhm.
Um, Do you want to read a little bit? It's on page 233 of the reading. Do you have your book open? Or I know you're kind of on your cell phone.
Yeah, I'm gonna. What page was that?
233, it'd kind of be going over,
233. Dang. Okay.
yeah, there's one in there that's number two. Explain what the positive and negative effects of, wait, no. There was one that was in emotions.
Hmm.
Theories of helping, explain the positive and negative effects of empathy-based altruism.
Oh, okay. I
I
did write that one down in the like my question.
okay. I thought there
Constantly
was one
helping.
that talked about how emotion, but maybe it was just the negative and
Oh.
empathy-based altruism. So I kind of wanted to hit more of that question. I don't know if it would be in
Because I
this.
definitely read that. I just don't remember where it was
Okay.
at.
Yeah, that's where
Um,
I'm looking. Kin selection, reciprocity, group selection. Okay, so it is still 233, but it's down towards the bottom. Genuine altruism and empathy.
hmm.
And we can kind of skim through it because it talks, I've noticed a lot in this reading, it gives a lot more like stories,
Hmm.
which can be
Yeah.
nice, I guess, if people are like listening to stories, but sometimes I really don't feel like it gives a lot of the information that you need. So then you have to go and research outside of the book.
Yeah.
Like I feel like sometimes there's questions that are asked, but it doesn't really explain it very well. I'm like, I don't want to read a story about Abraham Lincoln. I want to like know exactly what the information is. I guess that could be part of me though. Like when I'm reading a book, I really don't like to read a lot of the fluff. I just like to read the meat of it.
Yeah.
When we're given assignments for general conference, I skip over all the stories because that never really is in the actual content of what we're learning. So
Hmm.
yeah. All right.
Like,
So going over that one.
I have them listed, so like I know them, but
Okay. Explain the
I'm gonna
positive and
paragraph.
negative effects of empathy-based altruism are.
Um, so the benefits that I found were that it leads to sensitive helping and inhibits aggression, increases cooperation, and improves attitudes towards stigmatized groups.
Okay.
Um,
So, in the reading, it says, when we feel empathy, we focus not so much on our own distress as on one that suffers. So, genuine sympathy and compassion motivate us to help others for their own sakes. When we value another's welfare, perceive the person as needing help, and take the person's perspective, we feel empathy, concern. When empathetic people identify with someone else's distress, they want to help them. When they identify with other people's positive emotions, they also want to help them feel happier. To increase empathy, it helps to get a small dose of what another person feels. For example, people become more likely to say that yes, extreme sleep deprivation is torture when they are moderately sleep deprived themselves. So, trying to, what is altruism? And I got to Google that one because I want to make sure I understand altruism. The belief in or practice of disinterest and selfless concern for the well being of others. Okay, so the opposite of empathy, right?
yeah.
Okay. So,
Oh, I finally found it. There we go.
so then where's the negative effects of that?
Um, oh yeah, yeah. yeah. It's like
It's
right
kind of in
underneath
the,
those ones.
yeah, it's kind of in the focus on, I guess, empathy induced
Yeah,
altruism, and then, um, yeah, liabilities.
yeah. Let's see. Yeah, it can be harmful because people can. lose their lives trying to help
Mm-hmm.
other people, and it can't address all needs. Um, yeah, it's easier to feel empathy for a needy individual than for Mother Earth, whose environment is being stripped and warmed at the peril of our descendants. So yeah, we I don't know, can't focus on the right things sometimes, and like I don't know, it doesn't solve everything, and it
Yeah.
burns out. Um, yeah, so that one's interesting because like you can avoid situations that evoke empathy because it gets painful yourself to be
Mm-hmm.
feeling for other people. That one's
Right.
interesting.
Yeah. And that
And
one
then,
definitely, when somebody has a situation that definitely causes PTSD, it's like, I put this behind me. I don't want to like bring it up anymore. So I can definitely see that's a negative side effect of trying to empathize with somebody, especially like if they're, assaulted in any way.
mhm,
And it can be emotionally draining. Those are some things that didn't really talk about. Uh,
yeah, in my other class, I was like, it has so many parallels to this class, but it's reading about like burnout and like jobs and stuff, and people get really burnt out in jobs that involve helping people and like really hearing about all their needs and all their trauma and stuff, and it gets really exhausting for people.
yeah, I was just watching this video. It was about a doctor that talked about how women are found to possess more autoimmune disorders. And he says one interesting thing about women is that they're more empathetic and that uh, they take on a lot of emotional distress. And he says it's really interesting that they're found to have more health concerns than men do because of their need to take care of other people. And so, it's the research that they're doing on such this thing of empathy and trying to help others, it can actually be physically harmful to your body, which I thought was really interesting that's
Yeah.
they're starting to find that.
No, that makes perfect sense because like stress, I mean, isn't good on your body. So like I don't know, taking an extra stress from other people's lives
Mhm.
is like even
But
more.
so I just taught a lesson on Sunday and it was based on Year of My Friends by David L. Buckner.
Oh
And
yeah, that one.
yeah, that was good. So I actually, since it was so short, I went through and I found like six other talks about friendship and becoming one and being united and all these other things. And one thing that we talked quite a lot about, which was really interesting because last week was about belonging. And so I got to bring in some of my psychology, like why are we attracted? Why do we create friendships? Um, and e- e- uh, Part of that related to this next part of the lesson is about finding empathy and finding those things that relate and how that can really help with friendships as you self-disclose, I guess, in some ways. But you have
Mhm.
to be careful on how much you self-disclose because it can have those negative um, consequences to it, whether somebody's judgmental of you or like it said, emotional burnout. If you have
Mhm.
like I was talking to my neighbor next door and she was trying to help somebody move that was going through some kind of hardship in their relationship and she kept taking. So even though she was trying to help this person move, this person just like expected that she was always there for her and was her
Mhm.
free counselor. And then her new neighbor got involved and was like, you need to be here for her. And at that point, she just had to pull out because it was consuming her life trying to be Christ-like and help somebody because they just kept taking. So that's
Yeah.
definitely a consequence of going and helping somebody if they keep expecting that you're going to always be there and um, and aren't reciprocating that those emotional needs between both of you. It's just somebody who takes.
Yeah. No, I've totally seen that, like, even in just like dating kind of things. Like, I totally had this, like, I shared this the other day, but like, this dude was like basically trauma dumping on me, like, a couple days into him having my number, and I'd never actually talked to him in person either. And like,
Mm,
I don't know, like, I tried to be nice and stuff, but I'm like, I don't even know you. I don't know how to help you. You're just trauma dumping on me, and I don't know what to do with you, and it just got draining.
yeah.
I don't know what you want from me. And then
Uh,
like he came to expect that like I would text him back immediately. So like I left for a couple hours to go mow the lawn. I'm like, hey, I can't text you right now. And he's like, imagine saying you'd come back and not. And I'm like, I have a life, buddy. We're not even friends yet. I don't know what. Like,
mm.
it's
Yeah,
just
that's
hard
fun.
to be nice to everyone.
That's my area of interest right now.
Yeah.
So helping people to develop and established good emotional relationships. There's nothing, well, I take that back because I do follow a lot of people that are talking about relationship stuff, but
Hmm.
I have my oldest that I've been trying to counsel through relationships, and that's really hard right now.
Yeah.
I'm so glad I don't have to be there, but you do have to set boundaries with people, and because especially if we're kind and service orientated and healthily grounded, uh, we're more prone to what was this one thing I was watching? We're more prone to think that other people are that way, and so when they
Hmm.
don't behave in that way that we uh, maintain our expectations to, it's hard.
Yeah.
So, and like as I was counseling my daughter with a relationship, I'm like, men don't think the way women do. Like, if you want that relationship, then you need to go and hang out with your friends that are girls. So
Hmm.
it's just interesting.
Yeah.
So on to one of our next questions. Is there one that stood out to you that you want to go over?
Um, I don't know. I thought the Good Samaritan study was super interesting. I don't know. I think it's interesting how some people are more likely to help in certain situations. Because, like, obviously, there was like the one group that was told that they were late, so they were in a hurry.
Mm-hmm.
And I think only one person from that group stopped to help the dude that was supposedly like, I don't know, sick and struggling or whatever. Um, whereas like way more of the people who were told they had plenty of time stopped to
Mm-hmm.
help. Like going to meet with someone, I don't know what the context was really, but I don't know. I just think it's interesting because like they were like seminary students, I think. So they had kind of been talking
Mm.
about like religious things and like I don't know, that tends to like have a trend with like helping people. Like people talk about that a lot. So I don't know. That's why it was so interesting to me because it's like they were seminary students. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm trying to find that one. It looks like that might be When Will We Help? Explain and why helping is fluenced.
yeah, I think so.
Um, because it's interesting that like my first initial thought is, if you have um a group of people and they all have different beliefs, then I can understand, why people would maybe dismiss somebody, or I'm too much in a hurry, or the bystander effect, somebody else is going to help them.
Hmm.
But having them all be seminary students, it's like you should be grounded in that, growing up hearing that Good Samaritan story all the time, and how Jesus used that example to basically say that we should be inclusive and love all men, and to know that even people that understand that gospel principle would still dismiss somebody that's in need of help. Like for me, I try to say watch something happen next week, but that I'm never too much in a hurry to help somebody else out. Like that should be just ingrained in my being and my person.
Hmm.
And maybe that's a little bit of family typology because my mother was very service orientated. My dad
Hmm.
was service orientated, but I think some of his service orientated was a little bit more of self-serving because
Yeah.
he loved to talk and he enjoyed that camaraderie that he was doing as he went out and did his home teaching and talking and socializing. So, um, but with my mother, I think a lot of it was that she saw needs and she filled them because the other person needed them. So, starting like a
Hmm.
coat drive at the church or doing a cookbook to get some of the first family history computers at the church building where we grew up, like, um, yes, she gets to help that, but she saw that need. And um, so yeah.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. So yeah, this one is like talks about noticing, interpreting. Once we notice an ambiguous event, we must interpret it. Um, Misunderstandings. Um, Talks about assuming responsibility.
Yeah, it's part of
So
like the bystander effect because like when you have so many people
yeah,
around you, I mean, it did mention that you're less likely to notice a problem when there's tons of people everywhere. So like
mhm.
I don't know, the example was like someone like broke their leg or something was on the ground in
Yeah,
pain. But like obviously you're less likely to see that when there's a whole crowd of people.
true, true. Well, and another thing is, um, I don't know if it mentions it in here, but how people are so in society today so focused on their phones. Like
Yeah.
I like because I didn't grow up in that generation, I find it really interesting that where was I? I went in to get it's like a Cafe Rio here,
Oh.
Chipotle. I think that's what it was, Chipotle. And I walk in and there's this line of like 10 to 12 people, all different ages, including ones down to like 8 to 10 years old. And everybody's on their cell phone. And
Oh
I'm like,
God.
man, I stepped into some parallel universe, it almost feels like, because most of the time I just leave my phone in the car. I'm like, I don't need it. I'm just going in, I'm waiting online. I don't need to sit there and scroll through anything. I can live without my phone for like 10, 15 minutes.
People
Um,
just can't sometimes. It's crazy.
So does that increase the bystander effect? Like, I know that's supposed to be like the bystander effect is thinking that somebody else will do it, but I think it definitely would increase our noticing. I mean, decrease our noticing.
Oh yeah. Like that people get like so ingrained in their phones and like I don't know, it's just they I don't know, they'll walk across the street and not even look for cars. So like why would they be looking for someone to help? Like I don't know.
Yeah. So, and then let's see, let's go to explain what the research on the role of religious faith in helping includes, because that kind of goes into like, we say, how would they notice if they're on their phones?
Hmm.
And that to me, you know, I think of talks and Relief Society things that I've been involved in that it says that we should be praying each day for opportunities to help and serve those around us.
Hmm.
So that's to me, if we have that mindset, it's really a mindset, going into psychology, which you've been taking all those classes, is is that if we have that mindset that we're praying and asking for opportunities to help and serve those around us, then our noticing should be more open to those
Hmm.
opportunities if that's what we're trying to do.
Yeah.
So
That
Let's see.
totally adds up. Like that makes sense. Like if you're out there looking for those opportunities, yeah, you're gonna find them more.
So, and then we talked a little bit about like, so here's religious faith, gives four chaplains, gives a lot of stories. I hate all the stories. So it talks about Nazi submarine ships sinking faster, and torpedo impacts. And so it talks about four chaplains arrive on the steepy sloping deck and they begin guiding men to their boat stations. They open a storage locker, distributing life jackets. And so it's talking about these chaplains just going out and helping the sinking oil ship. So does the chaplain's heroic example amplify that faith promotes courage and caring? The world's four largest religions, Christianity, Islam, Hinduism, and Buddhism, all teach compassion and charity. But do their followers walk the talk? Religiosity is a mixed bag. It is often associated with conservative opposition to government initiatives, including support for the poor, but yet also promotes pro-social values. Consider what happens when people are subtly primed with spiritual thoughts. See, to me, it just doesn't really give a lot of information. It gives a lot of studies, but you know, you can have a bunch of people that believe the same thing or believe in Christianity. And, when I moved out here to Ohio, I'm going to open this up so I can watch our time. We have 7 minutes left. Yeah. Yeah. So let me backpedal. When I lived in Alaska, I was really excited to move down to Utah because I grew up in a primarily non-Christian, non-LDS community, and I felt very alone. So moving down to Utah, I was super excited to be down there, and I had expectations of what the members would be like. And I was really
Mm,
surprised that I called my ward the introvert ward, and I try not to associate that with every ward that's there in Utah because I know that that's not correct. But my ward was very introverted, and they when I did not feel super welcomed and like I belonged a whole lot. I didn't feel like there was a place for me because there were just so many members there.
mm,
And then um, what I found is that they were very, I wouldn't say self-centered, but family-centered, family-focused. Family-focused would be a better word, which is good because that's part of our religious culture is that family is really important. That's, going to the temple and baptism and keeping our covenants is so that we can have eternal families. That's part of Heavenly Father's plan. But
mm,
when Christ says, what is the first and great commandment? That's to love God first and then love your neighbors. Where I felt it was almost like they were loving their neighbors first, then loving God. And so I found just within our block that there were people that were in need and they weren't servicing them because they were so self-focused. And so when I moved out to Ohio, we had a hurricane that had just happened and like all these churches from like there's so many churches out here in Ohio. When you go down to the south, it's just like church on every corner,
oh
almost
yeah.
like Utah, except different. And they were out helping. Like they honestly are like involved in their community, trying to get out there helping people. Now, a little bit of it is self-serving because the more people they get to the congregation, then the more the pastor probably makes. But I think
Mm,
in it was generosity and genuinity that they were really trying to be out there helping. And so going back to that question, how does religious beliefs influence this desire to help? I think any religion, any culture, any person, depending on their internal values, can have a love and compassion for other people. And even if you are a member of the church or a Christian or whatever faith you have, it really depends on how you internalize and how you are converted in your love and belief of Jesus Christ. That's that's like, so when it says the chaplains there, that was part of their duty and responsibility as religious leaders to show and demonstrate um, what their job, that's their job.
Mhm.
To me, it's not really a good example of somebody who's living their faith. Um, I'm trying to think. Elder Bednar, he gave a talk on when he was younger, he would go to church, and there was a guy there that always like was asking him how he was doing, and then took interest in his life and started asking him about his like football games and stuff like that. I don't know if you remember his talk, but he
That does sound
said,
familiar.
yeah, he said that he doesn't even think that that guy had a calling, like that he was his ministering brother or anything, and how impressed he was. So I got to listen to him give a talk because he was down to set his son apart for an area authority.
Oh,
And
that's
he
cool.
said, yeah, it was really cool. We're like, we weren't even part of that stake, and we drove down there to see him.
Worth
Um,
it.
yes, and our kids got to be there. It was really amazing. But he gave this insight that he didn't in his one talk that I'll share with you. He said, a lot of the times where he says, for me, I feel like I was called into the callings as young as I was because I had to be um, almost expected or drawn to be better. Like, this is the Lord putting me in places that I had to step up. He says, but I really admire the people that aren't expected to and they do it anyways. And he
Mhm.
that was his little oh, I would praise, I guess, to that one guy that really made an impact in his life, that he was being a follower and expressing the love of Jesus Christ without being expected to. There was no external reward other than his own personal joy and relationship with Jesus Christ. So that's for me answering that question.
Mhm. No,
So,
that's like really cool.
yeah. So, anyways, we just have a couple more minutes, but what are you doing for Thanksgiving?
I'm just gonna go home on like Wednesday and I don't know, pretty much just hang out until I have to come back to Rexburg, but
Nice, where's home
nothing
for
much.
you?
Meridian, Idaho.
Oh, nice. I
Just
think
it's only
we've
like
known
4 hours.
people. Yeah, I think we've known people. That'll be nice to get away from Idaho. I heard it's really cold there. Did you guys get a big dump of snow yet?
We did. It's mostly melted now, but like it just isn't warm anymore.
And you said you're in Rexburg. Did I tell you that my sister owns Teton Sourdough Company?
No, that's fun. What the heck?
Yeah. Have you been there before?
I haven't, but I mostly
Oh,
like
you
broke into
should.
up a car.
Oh, if you go there and you see my sister, she's one of the owners, say, hey, guess what? I am in your sister's group on BYU Idaho for social psychology.
That's
She said your
awesome.
cookies are really good. It'd be fun.
Good to
So
know. That's
they have
awesome.
they have really good soup, and her cookies are like amazing, and her sourdough bread is awesome. So
That's so fun. What the heck? Food is
yeah.
good.
Yes. Well, good. Well, I hope you have a wonderful Thanksgiving. We're just hanging around
Thanks.
this area and getting together with friends. So
That's so fun.
yeah. So, all right. Well, I'll send this in. I think we lost Wesley, but I'll catch up with him later and make sure he can see this.
Yeah.
So,
Hopefully he's gonna get done with work soon. That's rough.
yeah, yeah. All right. Well, I'll chat with you later.
All right.
Okay.
See ya.
Bye.